Viva Las Vegas! Las Vegas Grand Prix, baby. It is done. I mean, the first time in 40 years. And yeah, it had ups and downs. It was a roller coaster, but it was Vegas, the most anticipated race of the year, I think. And they pulled it off, I think, Darren. What do you think?
Joe, I think it's been a great weekend. Vegas is one of my favourite destinations to go, whether to work as an entertainer or whether to holiday with my buddies or even my 10th wedding anniversary at the Cosmopolitan with a fountain view of the Bellagio. One of my
Wow.
favourite destinations. And in fact, last time I was there, my wife and I sat and had breakfast at the Paris overlooking the fountains, exactly where we've just watched the driver interviews. So my wife said to me, she said, I can't believe you haven't spent the whole race going, oh, well, I've been there, I've been there, I've been there. And I'm sort of enthralled with the whole thing, really, Joe. The spectacle of Vegas with the spectacle of Formula One. Mate, I've loved it. Loved it.
Spectacle is a great word because it just seemed huge scale. It just seemed massive, cradled within these massive monoliths of these hotels, which are so famous.
Yeah.
Everyone knows all these brands, Caesar's Palace and the Bellagio and MGM Grand and all these hotels. The circuit as well. I mean, I thought it was sporting wise, racing wise. I thought it was a good race. I thought
Wow.
we saw lots of overtaking. We saw lots of little elbows. We saw a couple of little crashes. We saw, problems with grip and the track, and there was some interesting additions. We had a banana shaped starting grid. It was mad, but it was quite exciting, and especially with Charles. I mean, we're jumping ahead of all over the place, but it was exciting. And if you looked at the layout, which it basically looked like a big rectangle,
Yeah.
and it didn't look particularly exciting when I saw it. I thought, oh, that's a bit boring.
A lot of
And
people,
actually,
Joe,
it
have
was great.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that the shape of the actual track is like an upside down pig. And if you look at it, you can see the head and the legs, and it's laying there almost dead, I suppose. But do you know what? It did have everything. It had it had the hairpin, like at turn one. What a great turn one to
Turn
be
one,
so
unbelievable.
close to the start line. But do you know what? I think the weekend started off quite good for me. I watched a little bit of footage of some of the drivers playing golf at the Win
Mm.
with some professionals. And so I know Science was playing and Lando was playing and Ocon, I can't remember who else. But they were playing golf, but as fast as you can possibly play it. So they were at the Wynn Hotel, which I've stayed at, mate, which is just one of my favourite hotels in the world. And they all teed off at the same time, and they all had buggies, and they all raced to their balls and played their ball, and it was the first one to put the ball in the hole would win that hole. And for me, the old man game that I love to play, just took a whole new meaning. And to me, that's what Formula One is about, and entertainment. I
Mm.
loved it. I thought, I want to try this. So the
Yeah.
whole weekend started off with some craziness, and you watched the opening ceremony, Joe. Since then, I've actually got a chance to look at it. For me, yes, all right, we've got some okay pop stars up there on some great trucks. I loved those trucks. I'd like to have
Mm.
actually seen them driving along the circuit. Maybe they're work in progress. And we saw, the drivers come up out of toasters. I struggled a bit there. If I was asked to do that, and I'm a performer, I'd have been like, yeah, but I look a bit of an idiot. And I know Max really struggled, so it put him on the back foot. He's been moaning a little bit about
It
the
was better
the
than Miami,
glitz
though.
in. Well, do you know? Ah, yes, you're absolutely right. That bit before the race,
That
yeah,
was
that was
excruciating.
it was. So I think what it is the European audience are a little bit more reserved, and the American audience are bang, bang, bang in your face all the time. I
Mm.
think we've got to find that balance. They probably watch us and go, "Come on, guys, make an effort." This is the
Mm.
World Championship. We've got to be embracing to all different styles of cultures and people, and Vegas couldn't have been more in our face. And so I would have
It
loved,
really was.
though, to have had somebody talking on that opening ceremony, introducing or interviewing a couple of drivers, even if it's just Max or just a pop star. It didn't
Yeah.
it was a little bit cold and just like, and that's it, and that's the end of it. And so I was a little bit like,
Mm.
okay, guys, if I was producing this, I'd make it a bit better. But it was still a wow factor, and just watching the
Yeah.
skyline. And Joe, I know you love the Sphere.
I love the Sphere. I'm so happy it's there, like part of the circuit. Really, it goes all the way around the Sphere, and the Sphere had such character. If you saw some of the expressions of the emoji face, like peering down, having a little look, see what's going on. Even when Charles got pole, it reflected that as well. They had cameras as well. There were TV screens, a la U2 Zoo Station, that kind of feel to show the action and what's going on. And sponsors and effects and sparkles and even fireworks at the end. It joined in with
Yeah.
fireworks and the checkered flag, which looked fantastic. It was a textured checkered flag on the last lap, which was a little premature, but it looked great. I think. Well, look, I can talk about the Sphere. I really want to see the Sphere, but it just blended in so well. And what great timing to have that there as an asset to use as a big billboard.
Well, I'm sure.
But also,
I'm sure
so
it was
bit
the
fun.
timing. Yeah, the timing of it. I'm sure was lined up with Formula One, and the whole pit complex, which is owned by Formula One. So that's probably going to turn into some museum or visitor centre, Joe, which you could go to as well. I'm sure.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
but mate, this Sphere, I've never seen anything like it. It's the next level of,
Yeah,
as you
it's
said,
an evolution.
promotion. But what I loved about it was whoever's sat there doing the content is great. I
They're having a lot
think
of
it
fun.
captured everyone. But they're just brilliant at their job. And I don't know if you heard on the commentary, they're thinking of building a Sphere now. Whoever's built it at £2.5 billion. Vegas, to me, is the only place that has that budget. But they're talking about putting one in London and putting one in Dubai as well. So that'll be interesting. But it's another level of promotion. What would it cost to put Racehouse on the Sphere, Joe, for the
I
Vegas
know how much it
2024
costs.
Grand Prix? Oh, do you?
I know how much it costs. Yeah, it's $450,000.
Joe, is that per advert or per day?
I don't know if that's. It could be per day or it could be an hour. It could be something like it. It
Wow.
is 450K, and it might get you a few rotations over a day. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Joe, we'll get a few more listeners, buddy, and it might be possible.
Well, do you know what? I think the idea also was kind of gleaned from the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. You've got this
Yes.
huge tower. And I remember years ago, they fitted LEDs all across the whole building because they never had that. It just was there, with some lights. And some bright sparks said, well, let's put an LED screen on it. And now there's LED shows every night as part, for the tourists and everything. But they also do product launches and have sponsors and everything there. But I digress. But Vegas is all about that. Look, we saw a heavy amount of sponsorship. There was so many activations going on. I always feel sometimes it's a bit of a distraction for the drivers, especially if you're driving at 200 miles an hour and you've got this huge emoji looking down at you, from the Sphere. So I think there were a lot of distractions, but when it came to racing, I think they all got into the zone. And that first corner, I mean, well, Max just had no fear. He just went for
No,
it.
I think he planned what to do there. Maybe he overcooked it a little bit, but he thought he got away with passing Leclerc at that first corner, saying, I was ahead at the apex. Well, buddy, you went off the track and you forced another driver off. It was an absolute slam dunk penalty. The problem is, and they said it on the commentary, a 5-second penalty to Max Verstappen is way less severe than a 5-second penalty to the likes of even Lewis Hamilton now, but take a Williams driver or Haas driver. So I think they need to think about what these penalties are, because we all thought Verstappen was just going to go 5 seconds clear, and that was the end of that. And he should never have been there. That place should have been given back immediately. And the team were a little bit arrogant with it. I thought Verstappen was a bit arrogant, and I felt Leclerc was just left with what could he do? There was nothing he could do. And but wasn't it brilliant that when these drivers did get past, they didn't disappear into the distance? We don't often see that. There was something about the temperature and the tyre. There was not a lot of degradation going on with these tyres because of the cold temperatures, and they couldn't get away. So we obviously saw it with Verstappen, and later on we saw it with Perez and Leclerc all holding the lead. They couldn't pull a gap.
But also, I think they were a bit nervy because this is high speed, obviously,
Mm.
but there was some real moments, real hairy moments, because there's literally no grip. They were slipping and sliding on
Yeah.
that track. And you think you've got a cold tire, it's freezing cold outside. And are your brakes going to work? Are you going to be able to stop in time? That straight. I mean, I couldn't believe watching
To
it
sit,
when they go strip
to
one
sit, yeah,
mile, boom,
to
220
sit,
miles an hour,
yeah,
and then
amazing.
you
To
got to hit
sit
the
at the
brakes, and you got to
to
rely
sit.
on that.
Correct, mate. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Sorry, Joe. To sit
Yes.
at the Bellagio fountains, don't worry, mate. To sit in the Bellagio fountains, those grandstands that they put in the water, to watch those cars come by with DRS and then into the braking zone outside the Cosmopolitan, I think is a spectacle that not many fans have actually seen, because you don't get it on the TV screen, sadly, because the
Mm,
cameras are moving. But to sit there and feel that car go past at those speeds,
mm,
I think that's what Vegas wanted, and they got it in bundles. But wow,
yeah.
but speeds. That was a big crash by Lando today.
Big crash by Lando. I mean, I don't quite know what happened with him. I mean, was it like a lockup?
I think it's cold tyres, and he just lost it, didn't he? Going into that
Mm.
second DRS zone, going down by the win,
And he
and
actually
but
skidded. He didn't actually like just crash into the barrier. He like properly spun around. I think he lost his rear tire there
yeah,
and was just skidding all the way down into that
just
crash barrier.
nothing to stop him, nothing to slow him down. It was, even a gravel trap would have slowed him down in years gone by, or
Mm,
tire barriers, but there was just nothing. It was just, this is just momentum until we hit the Tech Pro, and at least it was a Tech Pro barrier, not a concrete
mm,
wall. But he went
mm.
to hospital, and I haven't heard anything. They said he was all right, but winded. But he could have cracked ribs. We don't know. We'll find out in due course. But Lando's had such a wonderful season
Mm.
that, it's a shame really to see it, because McLaren's qualifying. What happened this weekend, Joe? Qualified, didn't get out of Q3, either of them. What,
I think McLaren and Mercedes, it was pretty disappointing.
I agree.
It's weird. I don't know. Again, there were so many unknowns. This track was a
Yes.
real unknown. All the problems Carlos Sainz had with the manhole cover we saw in was it FP1,
Yes, it was.
um,
Yeah.
which delayed everything and pushed everything back, and also these guys are knackered. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they finished free practice in 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Something
or something.
crazy.
It's crazy. They're not used to this.
No, and having come from Brazil 2 weeks ago, I would say most of them flew back to Europe to go back onto European time zone. So it's not like they even stayed on American time zones. And now
Mm,
they're flying to Abu Dhabi with a 12-hour difference for them and the crews and all the media. Everybody, mate, is going to be on their knees next week with jet lag.
they really will.
And
Yeah.
and when you're driving at those sort of speeds, Joe, you can't have jet lag. We all moan about jet lag. Oh, I must go and sit down, and I must go to my
Yeah.
house. You can't. And so that worries me. I think this schedule, and where they're talking about having a 24, 25 races, it's too much, really. And
Well, I think
we
you
love
could
it as
have it.
fans.
Yeah, but you can have it, but you need gaps between. You can't do these triple headers anymore, especially if you're doing like China,
Mm.
Europe, States. I mean, you can't do it.
No.
We're human at the end of the day, and they're human, and it takes a real toll. I mean, you're right. Imagine getting to oh God, I wouldn't even want to drive from the airport to the hotel. I mean, like, that
No.
shows the level of skill and talent these guys have, and that's why they paid the big bucks. But yeah, look, there were a lot of unknowns here at Vegas. Temperature was a big one. I mean, I also felt for the fans. With the whole farce of FP1 with this manhole thing, they waited for another 5 hours in the freezing cold, only to be told to leave. But that was for good reasons, say F1, because they had workers who were driving buses, who were hospitality, who were on the gates, and they had to release these guys because they're
Yeah.
working and they're
Of
doing long
course.
hours as well.
Yeah.
So that was the reason. It wasn't like they've been harsh, and I think they've offered some vouchers and things to fans, but
Mhm.
lessons learned from that. I think change the timetable. Change. Why is it at 10 o'clock at night?
Well,
get it.
the reason that I've heard is because of getting the race to happen in Vegas. The Vegas authority said there's no way you can close the strip till 7 p.m. And I think by the
Right.
time they then close the road, get it clear, set the track up for everything,
Mm,
even to have a 10 o'clock race was probably pretty tough going
mm,
to only have 3 hours to prepare the track. And it's even less than that, isn't it? Because the cars come out now of the garages 50 minutes before the start of the race.
mm.
So so
And
we're not
also,
used to that really.
no, and also I heard that the reason why it's in November where it's freezing cold is because this is like a fallow period for Vegas. People like to go there in the warm weather and they're running
Yeah.
around and having party time. But they do it this time because there isn't a lot going on, and also it's a week before Thanksgiving. So everyone kind of goes home, they go with the families and stuff like that, and they're going to have a big turkey dinner and stuff. And I haven't really heard of Thanksgiving. As Brits, we don't celebrate that.
No, we don't.
No, yeah, and but in the summer, like the biggest event is the rodeo championship that happens, and the place is absolutely heaving.
Right.
So that's why they can't do it in the summer because they haven't got the window to be able to do it and to have all this infrastructure. Next year
Yeah.
will be easier because they've built a ton of stuff, and also they've learned from this year
Correct.
what works, what doesn't work. So I'm sure they're going to do a big wash up once Abu Dhabi's out the way, and they're going to be going, okay, right, we can tweak this, and make it smoother, make it easier on people. But I think they should have you need to have a gap, a nice, a gap between races, but we haven't got a lot of time. If you had a gap between every race, then you've got tons of staff who may be on contract who are there. You could the cost savings aren't there. The freight, logistics, storage, all this stuff. It's a massive military operation essentially, and it's a big circus. And it just pulls up its tent now, and now it's off again. And
Yeah.
they're already off to the airport now. We're doing this straight after the race, but they're already off to the airport in the jets straight over to Abu Dhabi, and everyone, as you said, is coming straight from Vegas to Abu Dhabi. But logistics aside, I think it was fantastic. The spectacle, as you said, was amazing. We had tons of celebs as well. So we saw loads in the opening ceremony, but then on the grid walk, we saw Shaq. He was there. Gordon Ramsay. He seems to be at quite a lot of the races these days. Loads of them on Martin's grid walk, and it was packed. There was so many people on there. There was so much interest to be there at the front.
Yeah, it's. I didn't get to see the grid walk with it. A 6 a.m. start, Joe. I decided just to set the alarm for 6:45 and make it down, quick coffee and watch the race. But
You missed Donny Osmond did the anthem.
I turned. No, I didn't miss it actually. I turned it on just as he started it, and
Oh, great.
I
He
thought,
did well.
I thought it was great. He's a real
Yeah.
Vegas icon now. And has had his own show and there with his sister and so on. I thought that was a brilliant choice. I thought he sung the pants off it. And again, we'll go back to when we see the Brad Pitt movie. Was it worth hearing Damian Lewis do his version of the national anthem at Silverstone? I'm still struggling with that, but until I see the movie, then I might get it in context. But you know what? The whole weekend for me on track was all about Charles Leclerc. He was first in FP1, I think, and FP2. He was right up there, FP3, qualified on pole, brilliant pole position. He looked like he was going to win the race, Joe. Once Max had got his 5-second penalty, we had the first safety car. Then the penalty happened, but then that second safety car from when Russell clipped Verstappen's wing, we're like, Verstappen's wing, he's got another pit stop, he's going to have to go in. It was all going wrong for him. And then it was under investigation, and Russell was given a 5-second penalty. The safety car happens to clear all the debris, and Max goes in, and it all works out once again for the lucky Max Verstappen. But you make your own luck. And he absolutely put his car in the right place at the right time. And I felt really sorry for Russell, though, mate. I don't think that was a penalty myself. He didn't see it. He had no idea he was there. Max
I don't
put his
think he
car,
saw him.
No,
Yeah.
but Max was not ahead at the apex. That was not
No.
Max's corner. For me, Max
No.
should have backed out, and I think the stewards have got that wrong personally.
It was racing, and I don't see why George needed a penalty for that. it was racing, and it was a great move by Max. But it happened a few times. I think was it the same corner and Perez when he got overtaken by
Yes.
Leclerc.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a great
there
corner.
seems to be a blind spot there because
Yeah.
everyone was having to go overtaken. So they know for next year that's overtake corner.
That's it.
Yeah, it was there. It was a shame for Charles. I mean, he was moaning about being second, but I mean, amazing for Ferrari. I mean, especially
great-
because constructors is still kind of up in the air. For second place, Ferrari on third at the moment with 388 points, and Mercedes are 392. Red Bull have already won. So if it's another strong show next week in Abu Dhabi, Ferrari could overtake Mercedes and clinch second.
There were two things that happened there at the end that were massive with that, actually. And that is, of course, Russell getting his penalty, dropping from 4th to 8th. Obviously bumped Hamilton up a little bit, so Mercedes did get a slight benefit there. But, as in, it wasn't quite as bad as it could have been. And with Leclerc pulling that amazing Alonso-style pass into that last corner from the end of the straight to pass Perez for second, I said to my boys just at the end, I said, he's let Perez past. What's the betting he gets him on the last lap, like Alonso did in Brazil on Perez? So Perez has suffered twice from the same tactic in 2 races.
Same tactic.
Yeah, but it was, for me, Leclerc, driver of the weekend for sure. Perez, a better weekend, but we're talking negatively at the end of it again. What can that guy do? Now, I want to ask you a question. Should Max have not just dropped back to 2.5 seconds? Should Max have dropped back to 1 second and given Perez DRS down that last straight?
If it was Hamilton Bottas, that might have happened, but Max,
he's not interested, is he? He's not interested at
so
all.
many times they've asked him, let him pass or do this or help him out, and he's not really helped. And on the radio, they said after that, they said, "Oh, thanks for doing all you could to help Sergio." Like, what?
And Max said, he said, "Oh, I tried. I did everything I could." No, you did not, mate. You could have given him DRS. And that, to me, is, if that was a team working next to each other, working together, then that would have happened. And as you said, Hamilton and Bottas would have done exactly that, and probably Hamilton, Russell as well. But we've not seen them at the front of the grid together to do that. But no, it was good. So
It was good. But Sergio, sorry, just to add on that, but Sergio, look, everyone keeps moaning about Sergio and his performance. Let's just remind people he's second in the championship.
And confirmed.
Max is, and confirmed, because Lewis cannot catch him now mathematically, but Carlos cannot catch Lewis mathematically. So the order is Max has won the championship, then Sergio Perez, then Lewis Hamilton, and that's the championship order for this year. But what I'm more interested in is 4th place, and we've got Carlos Sainz and Alonso both on 200 points. So that really is down to them next week, what's going to happen for 4th. But in that mix, you've got Norris, who's only behind 5 points, and Charles Leclerc is on 188 points. So there are 4 drivers that potentially could come 4th. I'd like to see Alonso maybe, but I think Sainz has such a great season. I love Lando as well. I don't know.
I know.
Darren,
and do you know what? I totally agree with you. And when you look just behind with Russell and Piastri, who really have had a great, well, Russell's had a poor season, let's be honest, in that Mercedes. Sometimes not his own fault. And Piastri and Lando have had such a great second half of the season. Is where would they have been had it just been there at the start of the season, like Alonso was? But I look at that and I just think, I can't believe we're sat getting excited about who's going to come 4th in the championship. But that's all we've got to cling on to now, Joe. And but we've got Hamilton, Alonso, Norris, and Leclerc, and we like Sainz, not Hamilton. We got Sainz, Alonso, Norris, and Leclerc, and actually we like them all. They're all good guys. They're all great drivers. They're not divisive people. They've got huge fan bases, and you've got to support your drivers. For me, I have to go with the Brit. So I'm going to have to go with Norris.
We need to go with the Brit. We need to go with the McLaren lads. But it's going to be interesting. But yeah, we're getting excited about 4th, but it just shows that every season really is different. yes, when you have this streak of dominance by Max, the third championship now, or 2.5, but third, then you've got meow.
Yep.
But you've got the streak of dominance. But yeah, every season is different because it's just these rookies now. I mean, we're going to go into the next season, and Oscar Piastri's already done the season. He's got it under his belt. And
Yeah.
what a great, I mean, finished top 10 probably. Amazing. What a drive today as well. I thought he drove really, really well. He had some great overtakes. Just didn't really translate for McLaren today. But again, this was a race where we saw so much action on and off the track. I'm so happy they pulled it off. I'm really happy for them. Of course, there are going to be teething problems. It's like any of the first Grand Prix. It's the first time we do it anywhere. But now they've learned, and I think next year is going to be even better, even bigger. And some of those pain points, I think, are going to be addressed to make it one of the best
For
in
sure.
the world, if not
Definitely.
the best.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's been a great success.
Shout outs wise, well, I think shout out to you, Darren, because you're actually going to travel over to Abu Dhabi, and we're going to be at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix together.
That is the plan, even though we thought we would be watching the Las Vegas race together this weekend, but that didn't transpire. But listen, mate, the thing is, the plan is that we are over in Abu Dhabi next weekend, and really looking forward to doing another podcast with you, Joe. Last time we did it was at Forest Edge back in September for the karting race. So, Abu Dhabi, we're going to be cheering on whoever's going to get fourth. That's the plan for Abu Dhabi.
We're cheering for fourth place, exactly.
and hoping that everybody can stay awake on the grid, because if you're in pole position, you're going to sit there for 30 seconds with nothing to do. You don't want to be snoring, that's for sure. But no, I really look forward to it, mate.
And this is your first Abu Dhabi Grand Prix you're going to be going to?
Yeah, mate.
Yep.
So my bucket list, of course, like every Formula One fan, is to be able to go to each and every race that's ever been on the calendar, or at least every circuit. But I've done Dubai before many times, but never been up to Yas Marina. So really looking forward to experiencing that and seeing it all. Because once you go to a race, and I'll say this to any armchair fan who watches it religiously and loves it, when you go to a race, the experience of the track and the atmosphere at the track, just the layout of the track, the buildings around the track, the access in and out of the circuit. And then after many races, the track opens up and you can get to walk on it and just experience that history of every corner, which you and I, Joe, have done at Silverstone. I recommend every single Formula One fan, if you have the opportunity to get to a circuit, even visit a track when there's no Formula One there, to be honest with you, because it has a real special, I think, atmosphere and the memories. The amount of times I'll walk around a circuit and think, oh, Ayrton Senna did this on this corner, and Nigel Mansell did. For me, growing up in the late 80s, to have that feeling. But, you can go right the way through all the generations of Formula One and have these memories. So I really recommend, if you get the chance, save up the money. It's not cheap, but it changes that TV experience, doesn't it, Joe?
It's colossal, and we'll talk about Abu Dhabi next week when we do our preview for Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But I've been many times, and it is the cleanest. That is hilarious. It is. You could eat your dinner off that track. I mean, everywhere is so pristine. It is incredible. So it shows the power of these kind of countries in the Middle East and the resources. But no, it's a great one. It's a great one to end on, and really excited you're going to come and join me for that one.
Great.
So you'll see us next week on the preview for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's the last race of the season, and we have done half a year of podcasting as well on Formula One.
Yeah.
So it's gone so quick. So I hope you've enjoyed it, but we'll do a sign off next time. Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, please like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, and if you are at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, then let us know in the comments. Send us a DM or something, and hopefully we can meet up and have a chat. So we will see you there. But from now, it's goodbye from me, Jolie.
And it's goodbye from me, Darren Reeves. Take care.
Caretake.